For the longest time, well, I mean, and it's so true, and it's so cliche. You go through the steps, First there's sorrow, then there's anger, then there's, and you're on this constant Ferris wheel. I was seeing a lot of therapists at the time and grief counselors and things, but you just got to go through it, Till to this day, I'll be driving and all of a sudden something triggers me and I just burst into tears. Mm-hmm. And you just have to. Mm-hmm. You have to do it. Like, you can't sort of be stoic and be like, well, I'm not going to cry. Well, yeah.
Tell me why, oh why it feels so right. It feels so right to be alone. Whether day or night, rain or shine, it feels so right to be alone.
Welcome back to Arlene Is Alone, and today I am alone with Steven Sabados, and I am so thrilled that you found the time to come and talk to me today, Steven. You have no idea. I can't wait to catch up with you.
It's been a long time since we've seen each other. And thank you so much for having me into your gorgeous home.
Thank you. Well, coming from you, I will take that as high praise because I wanted to see if you want to decorate it or redo it. I asked Tommy Smythe the same thing.
I want to live here.
Well, we can arrange that. I mean, there's room and board. We can figure it out.
Perfect.
But before we get going, I think we've got our pillows backwards. I think you should be this one matches you, and that you are the Hermes guy.
Honey, I am very fine to cozy up to an Hermes pillow.
Look, so let's start with, I always ask my guests the question, are you in a relationship right now?
Currently I am in one, yes.
Currently
absolutely.
You are, okay. Yeah. And tell me, when we go back in our history, and our history goes back, how many years is it? When did you, Steven and Chris, you were doing that, what year?
I don't even remember what year it was.
I think I was on your show way early days, when I was on Dragson. It has to be over 15 years ago.
Oh, for sure, very early days, yeah. And then you came back again when we did The Goods, and you co-hosted with me,
exactly.
which was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun, and I think you had me making something. I think you had me crafting.
I'm sure, and cooking and doing all the fun things.
I'm so not a crafter. I am so not a crafter, but you made me craft. It was okay, you're making me craft, I'll do it. But back in those days, you and Chris were a phenom. I mean, you truly were a phenom. And I want to talk to you today, if you're okay to share, a little bit about the grief that you went through when Chris died, and maybe we start with the relationship. How you two met, and for those of you who haven't watched Steven and Chris, and now that you've met Steven, I invite you to go back and look at the old episodes. You will see the chemistry. You will see the connection that you two had was really quite something else, and you were just. He was always, to me, so bothered by everything, and you were just
bothered by me.
Yeah,
yes.
you were always so calm. You were always just get through it. But he was always hyper about it all.
Always. Well, that was sort of, I think, the dynamic that we, even from Designer Guys, which we launched in 1999. That was our first show together.
Were you with Christopher at that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, you and Chris were, start with maybe where you met each other.
Met at a bar called Comrades, and it was I was 21, he was 20, I believe. This was would have been the 90s. And I just saw him across the way. He had cowboy boots, jeans, and a white t-shirt on. And I thought, I'm going to spend the rest of my life with him.
Really?
Yeah. Swear to God. And then so my friend introduced us. I was just blind drunk because I was so nervous. We then started working together. We had our design company together. He was doing makeup at City TV. I was doing set design at City TV. And then we just sort of started working more and more together on design projects and clients and things. Then I auditioned for Designer Guys. They couldn't find a counterpart for me. We all went to lunch with our producers, and Christopher, as we would normally do, we just started arguing at the table and started fighting and bickering and things. And then they said, Jesus, that's the other one. And so they camera tested us, and they loved it. And they're the network put us on, and that's how Designer Guys came to be. Literally, it was a fight over lunch.
Do you know that's how I got on Dragon's Den?
Really?
Yeah. Because I bickered with Kevin.
They need someone
honestly,
strong.
It was, and I thought that I had blown the audition and that they'd never choose me. And they said, no, we really like that you bickered with him. But I think that speaks to a great producer who actually saw what was going on and said, that's good TV.
It was natural chemistry. He was going to be the crazy one, off the cuff thing. I was going to be the steady one, deliver information. So we already had those roles. A lot of people said we're like Sonny and Cher, you know. So like things like this. So we kind of thought, oh, that's interesting. So we really pushed it, and it worked, and people loved it. And by no means it was inauthentic. It was authentic, but we had a lot of fun with it.
What's the best story of those days where the show has to go on, where you were going, no, the show can't go on?
There was a lot of times. I mean, obviously, Chris and I, we were a couple. We were in some battles at times. Yes. So we would be backstage, and God bless our floor director, Kevin, you know, he'd be in his corner, I'd be in my corner, and Kevin's like, come on, boys, we got to get this. Then, so we would stand beside each other and just snarl, right? And then Kevin would count us down. He'd tap us on the bums and send us out. And as soon as we hit the stage in the audience, you'd just smile. And then as soon as the cameras went down, we'd go back into our corners. But so that was tough. But we got through. That happens
a lot in TV, though, right? Where you have to, you have to put on a brave face no matter what, right?
Yeah. You can't.
I've walked off Dragon's Den a few times. Trust me, like I can't do this anymore. I'm out of here. Like this is crazy. And then I go, okay, go back on there.
Yeah. But we never sort of showed it on camera. But there were times like that, of course, and stuff's going to happen. But it truly was probably one of the most energetic and best times of my life. Now that it's gone from my life, it's sort of that I really miss the crew, the thing. Like they were your friends, they were your family. You were with them from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. every day,
And tell me, like you're 7 years in, you're living with your co-host, you're having your fights in your life, things that are going on, and you're also having the time of your life.
Yeah.
Right? What? Tell me how that all ended.
Well, the show ended when Christopher passed away. We were literally, it was the August, and we were going back to filming in September. So it was literally that close.
Yeah. So it was that close. So
it was a few weeks out. We were going to go shoot.
Yeah.
So that happened.
And totally unexpected. It was an accident.
Completely unexpected, and it was obviously the most horrible time of my life.
Yeah. How did you deal with it? Like, is it still obviously raw for you, right?
Oh,
it's
huge!
Still
Absolutely, yeah.
Love of your life.
Yeah. Dealing with it was a non-stop barrage of friends and family that came by my side. I kind of, in the weirdest way, I missed sort of those times of having so many people in my home. I would wake up to like literally what sounded like a party. So there was people talking and things. We had food delivered, and it was 24 hours a day. So by the time I woke up to the time I would go to bed, there were always people in the house, in the loft, and that was really nice because it always felt like I was never alone, and I never was because there was so many people around me. So that I think really got me through it.
But then you were alone.
Then I was alone. Then that's when it hits, that's when it sinks in.
How'd you deal with that? Like, how'd that feel?
I really sort of, I took, more than a year off. I went back to my artwork heavily. I found that was my outlet for my pain. Hugged my dog a lot, poor little thing. I'd just be like squeezing her and crying. Then she would go sitting in the corner, going outside there, and be like, don't leave me, So poor thing. So and she wasn't well either. Poor little Maxie, my Great Dane. And then, so I really just went head to toe into my artwork, and I would just sit day and night, and there was no sense of time. It's 4 a.m. and I'm drinking Grey Goose and soda and painting. It's like don't care.
Yeah. You have to do whatever you have.
I got to do what I have to do. Yeah.
Right.
And the timeline didn't matter. It's not like, oh, it's 10 o'clock, got to go to bed. Why? I wasn't getting up for anything.
Is that what grief does to you? Does grief, like, I mean, I know grief from when I've lost friends and I've lost parents, but I haven't ever lost somebody that I was, that I loved that way, like as a partner.
Yeah.
Like, how do you manage it?
I don't know. For the longest time, I mean, and it's so true, and it's so cliche. You go through the steps, First there's sorrow, then there's anger, then there's, and you're on this constant Ferris wheel, and more like roller coaster. And I was seeing a lot of therapists at the time and grief counselors and things, and but you just got to go through it, Till to this day, I'll be driving and all of a sudden something triggers me and I just burst into tears. And you just have to. You have to do it. Like you can't sort of be stoic and be like, well, I'm not going to cry. Well, yeah. or not feel the pain, or and I'm still very close to Christopher's mom. We, she's my second mother, and so we share a lot of stories to this day.
Yeah.
It's almost been 10 years, and it seems like yesterday.
It's 10 years. Wow.
August will be 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
We all know that death is a reality. It's for all of us. But I think it's when it's unexpected that it hits, that it's hard to kind of, I don't know, it's never expected, but you know what I'm saying?
Exactly. I was very angry at that, like angry at him, saying like, why did this happen? Like, how could you let this happen? And I wished it was tragically and horribly, I shouldn't even say this, a car accident.
Yeah.
Or cancer or something that you could wrap your head around, as opposed to just gone, in seconds.
Yeah.
So that was sort of, and I, cursed the universe for that. Went to a lot of psychics, did a lot of spiritual healing, went to Tulum and did all sorts of spiritual awakening, which you have to still do to this day, because I think it's, we are all connected spiritually, and I'm a huge firm believer that they're there and they're
that he's out there somewhere.
Sitting there, I'm sure right here.
Yeah.
Like probably looking at you, being like, Arlene, hello.
Hello, I'm right here.
I was the funny one.
Yeah, exactly.
I was the. This is boring. I was like talking to him. I know he'd be saying that.
Yes, I could see him saying that actually, and he would be very fit, and he would be looking very
and his navy suit with the white shirt, as he always had his uniform.
Yeah. He was a great dresser, as are you. I mean, you were just a great couple. I think when you talk about managing grief, like I guess. And you say it's always there. Does it ease at all? Does it?
No, I was talking to Christopher's mom a while ago, and because it's nice that we can talk so frankly about things. And I just said it never changes. It just alters you.
Yeah.
And that's the best word I can find.
Yeah.
You get altered. It doesn't become easier. It doesn't become harder. It doesn't become manageable at times. At times it's sort of hard because it becomes forgetful. And then it sneaks up on you.
And then it sneaks up only when you're driving down the road or doing something that reminds you.
And it's sort of like when I was painting so much, I was painting with a lot of sorrow, a lot of sadness, and a lot of my paintings were very dark and very moody, and I could only create under pain. Then it did start to lift, and now I can paint with color and with.
And you've got beautiful. Yeah. Now you are bright.
And I could do that, and I thought I didn't want to lose that because then I would lose a memory of him.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it was sort of
like.
like.
Interesting. You didn't want to paint anything that was happy or joyful.
Nope. My mother's like, paint something bright, or maybe flowers, and I'm like, why don't you, Mom? Because I get so angry. You know. But it was true that I kind of found my way back through color, and that was the healers were saying that's what you need. To get out, and you'll still remember him, still know him. Yeah. Because that depth of sorrow and hurt isn't the essence of creativity and dreamwork.
That's interesting to me because I feel like when I talk about does grief stay the same, I find like the thing that worries me the most. Like my mom passed away, I guess a couple of years ago now, not quite. And I was actually thinking of this the other day that I find myself wanting to hold on to memories, but I find the memories as time goes on become less and less crisp. And so, like it's you maybe it's because I don't talk to her every day, or I don't see her as often. Obviously don't see her. I don't see her as often. I don't know. I tried to see her, but she's not sitting right here. Although my mom, she probably is. I hope her and Christopher are having fun together. They would have gotten along. But I feel like memory fades, and sometimes the intensity of the person goes with it, and I guess that's common and pretty normal.
Yeah, because I found it was very difficult for me, even just say within the last 2 years of going back and looking at tapes. Yeah. I couldn't hear his voice. No? Nope.
I feel that way. I've got my mom's voice too. It's hard. But you have hundreds of hours of tapes.
Yeah, like if something does pop up, maybe on a feed or something like that, and there's a thing, I'm like, and then I click it off and be like, no, because I didn't want to hear his voice.
Really?
I don't know why. Maybe just, I could see pictures of him, but I did not want to hear his voice. Intentionally did not want to hear it.
Interesting.
Now I can do it and I can smile.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. That's something I haven't really sort of looked into, but I don't know. Maybe it was just sort of because there was so much of him out there
Yeah.
on tape,
Yeah.
and I didn't want to remember that
Yeah.
because that would be more hurtful.
Yeah. That's fair. Like if you looked at it, then, because he was larger than life, and he
Yeah.
was such a big character, and and I can see that. Like, and I guess, I mean, the good side is that you have hundreds of hours of tapes of him. That when maybe
True.
one day you'll go back and and look at them and laugh with them, and
It's like almost 1,000 episodes of Steven and Chris.
1,000
Almost
episodes?
1,000. We were just under 1,000.
that's insane.
Yeah, yeah.
That's insane.
That was a good run. Yeah.
Do you have any regrets about your relationship with him? Do you look back? Because that's something that I think of my mom. I think about stuff that I wish I'd done differently. Is that something that you ever grapple with?
There could be some things, like, I mean, we certainly lived a life, the most incredible life imaginable, beyond our wildest dreams.
Right.
We were treated like movie stars and things, and so that was wonderful that I shared that with him. Like, the amount of trips that we did, we traveled through Southeast Asia and Bali, and so I wish we could have done more of that.
Yeah.
Then we bought a house in Barbados, and that was fantastic. That was our dream, to do that, and so that was it. So I don't know about regrets, if there would have been, because we honestly were best friends, and we would, after shooting almost 1,000 episodes till to that day, we would still go home after shooting, lock the door, open up a bottle of wine, and talk.
Yeah.
I'm like, I just talked to you all day long.
Yeah.
2 shows,
Yeah.
and we never had anything not to talk about. There was never an awkward silence, ever.
Really?
Ever, ever, ever. No,
Really?
which was wonderful, because I do miss that.
Yeah.
It was a constant, always a chatter. It's like a TV was on somewhere always.
And it's hard to replace that with any new relationship
Sure.
too, right? Like it's
Yeah.
hard to replace. I think when you look across the room at the cowboy standing across the room and you go, I'm going to live my life with him, it's pretty hard to replace that. Right? It's pretty hard. And that, I think that's okay. Sometimes we only have one great love in our life, like I think,
Yeah.
I often
Well,
think that.
And I often said to my friends, early on when he passed, I said, I kind of wish I would have never have known him.
Yeah, because it was so big.
Then I would never have felt this pain.
Yeah.
And my friend Rod said, shame on you.
Yeah.
He said, the feeling of having that much love and lost, as opposed to never having it.
Yeah.
He said, I'll trade that in a second. And I thought, what, you're right.
Yeah.
It was almost 30 years we were together, just shy of 30.
So he was, how old was he when he passed? 50? Not quite?
Not quite, yeah.
Not quite.
Yeah.
Yeah. How are you 60 years old?
I don't know.
You look amazing. Like honestly, you do. Like you have
Foundation,
not aged.
Botox, and very soft lighting. If you can turn the camera and see this really nice chimera sitting here, it's just gorgeous.
It's not true. He looks like he has not aged one day from when you did the show. I did the show with you. Like you have not.
God bless you.
You stayed like you've preserved yourself very, very well.
Yeah, it's called Great Goose.
And you use that as a foundation?
Yes,
or what?
exactly. Yeah.
Are you, when you think about your life in the next, like, I don't know about you, but as I turned 60, it was always kind of like the reality of time shifting and time kind of narrowing. And
Yeah.
the importance of every moment became I had a clarity that I didn't have until I turned 60.
You're right. Yeah, because I had a really hard time. And mine was just a few months ago. I turned literally a month and a half ago.
Okay, happy belated birthday.
Thank you. And I
You didn't get my card?
I kicked. Yes, it's over here. I kicked and screamed the whole way through it because it was a really big number.
Yeah.
Because 50s, that's cool. It's sort of, but then 60, you are over the hump.
Yeah.
Mentally.
Yeah.
And then you think, oh, geez, and you've got a few more good years to maybe travel, do something, whatever. And then you start to realize that.
Yeah.
Whereas before you're like, oh, got lots of time. I can still do
Yeah.
whatever. So I'm more reflective of that now, thinking, do I want to, just maybe focus on my art? Or do I want to retire? Do I want to travel? Do I want to, and I'm more focused on what I want to do.
Yeah. It's, to me, I always say what has really hit home for me in the last couple of years is the things I have, the possessions I have, I really don't care about. Like, I love to have them, and it's
Sure.
wonderful, and I feel blessed that I have them. but they are not what matters to me. Like the experiences I can continue to live right now, like traveling with my family, doing things with my family, doing things with my friends, like just going for walks, enjoying light, like the simple things are actually way more important to me. And I feel like I decided that I need to live my life. I want my world to be bigger, not smaller. Because as you get older, it's easy to make your world smaller with the same people, the same routines, the same things. I mean, just back to Christopher for a second. You guys are very public people. What did people not know about who he was as a private person?
You know what? He was probably one of the most. What's a good word for it? He was very out there. He was very vocal, and he was very strong and very strong-willed and very opinionated and all that kind of stuff. And sometimes people looked at that as being either overly aggressive or sometimes mean-spirited. He was never mean-spirited at someone. He was maybe just caught in the moment because he was very explosive. What was on his mind, he'd let you know. And be like, okay, can we talk? You know what I mean? So he was never like, are you okay? He'd tell you. So
I would tell you I'm not okay.
And then at, say after work sometimes we'd be together, he would be very upset and very distraught if he hurt someone's feelings. Or if he came across too much. And I'd be like, you kind of did, you know, like you made them cry, you know. And he would feel very, very, very horrible, very guilty. But, so he was very, I guess, roared like a lion, but sort of, incredibly sensitive. A lot of people didn't know that about him because his face that he put out in the world was to be strong and don't F with me. So, that a lot of people didn't know about him, and a lot of people did know his sense of humor was off the chart. So he was just stupid.
What do we not know about you? What's the Steven that people? I got the public Steven, but what's the Steven that people don't know?
Well, it's funny because at the time when we were shooting, because we sort of had these defined roles that he was the whatever and I was the straight and narrow. But Christopher always said, like, I love being incredibly just ridiculous. And he said, I wish people would know that about you or see it, because I'd be like, he'd be in the kitchen maybe, and I'd say, okay, I'm gonna go take the dog for a walk. Shh, I'm gonna tell you this, don't listen. Mom, close yours.
Close yours.
And I would just do stupid things. I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna take the dog for a walk. And I would put on like thong underwear. I would put on the tiniest little tank top, Britney Spears tank top. And I'd put on like some gloves, sunglasses, and then I'd put on rollerblades. And I'd hook the dog up and I'd come rolling around the corner. I'd be like, take the dog out for a walk, be back in a second. He would literally fall to the floor and say, you're so stupid. He said, why can't you be like this on TV? I'm like, we're not wearing a thong on TV.
Exactly.
But I would just do things like that. Or, my crew definitely know when I would work there, I loved pranking a lot of people. And my makeup artist, poor thing, I would go in the makeup room if she'd be out, and I would literally go in the cupboard, like in the cupboard. You know the you probably know the makeup room. Either under the cupboard or there was like tall wardrobes, and I would go in there and I'd peek through. And I would sit like literally for 10 minutes, and people would be like, "Where's Steven?" I'd be like, "I don't know, I haven't seen him." She would come in, and I would just go out.
Oh,
and
that's
she
mean.
Would
oh my God, that's mean.
So yeah, I would do a lot of very, very, very horrible things, and then so a lot of the other crew, they would start to prank me as well. So silly things.
But like you say, that's a crew that loves each other.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't know if you know this, and I bet you do, but maybe you're not as aware of it as I am just talking to you. When you talk about your stories with Christopher, your whole face lights up. Like you literally, it's like the joy of the memory is very palpable. Like it's like you're reliving it. It's really quite lovely. It's
Which is nice. Maybe it is a form of remembering.
Yeah, it really is. Like it makes me emotional watching you. Yeah. Okay, we're both gonna cry. But it does, because I he was something else. But listening to your stories about him, Steven, it's just so. I feel the love.
You know, when I would post something about maybe his birthday, whatever, the thousands of people that would write in and share their stories.
Yeah.
It's so overwhelming and so wonderful that they remember him as being, oh my God, this is funny, and I remember this story. And it's so nice to hear that everyone has such positive memories and can relive that with him. And his mom always said, you know, he left a beautiful legacy. He touched this earth with something like that, and that's all we can do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, we all want to have a fantastic legacy, you know?
He really did. I mean, you both had such, it was magical. I remember walking through CBC in those days, and the Georgia's show was on, and your show was run, and CBC, Dragon's Den was playing, and there was so many good Canadian television shows being created in that building.
And we were on the same floor.
We were on the same
all
floor.
our offices were just, which was wonderful. And it was such an explosive time, wasn't it?
It was an
really
explosive time. And we used to, we would grab each other for interviews or do stuff in the hall. Like it was, for those of you who don't know, like the television world is it's intense. There's a lot of demands. There's a lot of pressure. But when you have this camaraderie that floor, the 10th floor represented, it was something else.
And it was wonderful that we were all sort of there, like you said, for each other, that we would have, you guys on our show, because we were a talk show, so we'd promote that. And we would cross over and do all sorts of promotional stuff together, which was, it was an extended family, which
it was.
Those are the days I really miss.
Yeah, me too.
You know?
Like still doing the show, but it is different now. Like now you go over to that building and it's a completely different environment. I mean, CBC is only on, I think, a few floors, and the rest of it's all being rented out. And it's a very different place. But yet I still think the content that comes out of that building and the creativity of Canadian producers and is really still something else. I miss though that I wish they had another great talk show like Steven and
sort
Chris.
of like daily stuff, know, that could sort of just bring in that daily energy, as opposed to doing something and shutting down. So
Well, Steven and I are available for a talk show, CBC, if you want us to do a talk show. We would be a really good pair.
we really would.
We would.
Yeah.
I mean,
I can cook and Arlene can eat stuff, and I can make
I'm
stuff.
better
and
at things than just
watch.
eating. I wish I could remember what you made me make when I was co-hosting. It was like something really stupid. I thought, why are we making this? And I did such a shitty job of it. And you did everything. You had to actually do it for me, as I recall. Pretty sure you ended up taking it over and doing it for me, because I couldn't. I can't even bedazzle a pair of jeans. I'm terrible at that.
But I remember
stuff.
doing the design segments with you. We had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That was
design.
wonderful. Yeah, clearly. And it's I like doing that because it was sort of like we could share that together.
Are you just trying to recover from I can eat while you cook? Is that what you're trying to recover from
You
here
were
right
so
now?
good.
Yeah, you were so good. You could do design, Arlene. You were amazing. It was amazing. Do you still dog walk in your thong?
My thong.
I want to know if there's still dog walking happening in your thong.
I thought maybe this for an outfit for here, but I thought no, I don't. No, I'm not that silly anymore.
Has that silliness gone away?
A little bit, yeah. A bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my thought is, I think Christopher would tell you to bring back Silly Steven and to not be afraid to, because I think that's a part of you that's really lovely and interesting. And I could sit and talk to you for a long, long time, Steven. You are truly, I think of you as a friend. We don't see each other. We don't stay in touch, other than through Instagram. But it's funny when you have worked with somebody the way we worked together over the years.
Yeah.
It leaves a lasting impression. And you and Christopher both left a lasting impression on me. And I really appreciate you coming and spending time on Arlene Is Alone. Go back and look at his shows. Look at his artwork that he's doing now. He's very talented. His design skills, his creativity, his passion, all shine through in the artwork that you see and his expressions of life and love. So, yeah.
Now you're gonna make me cry.
Yeah, that's true. It's all true.
Thank you.
Yeah, don't cry.
And I'm so grateful, and we always respected you. And thank you for. I mean, you were always there and you used to give us advice and things. And Chris, we always loved you for that, because you were so open and generous with your knowledge. And
oh, thanks.
and
You asked me
everything you
about
did.
buying that place in Barbados. I remember that conversation.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in to this episode, and Steven, thank you for
Thank you.
sharing everything with me and with everybody that's watching the show. Bye, everybody. See you soon.
Tell me why, oh why it feels so right. It feels so right to